Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am AZ, or you can call me Owl. Either of those two is good, I don't care. So we're going to jump right into Canary by Cloud9 and 3/4. Side note, I still do not know how to do the thingy, how to do the link. But they're really good. Go check them out on AO3. If I find out how to do the link, I will put in the link. I know how to do the link thingy, but I don't know how to make it clickable. So yeah. If someone would explain to me how to make a link clickable on YouTube, that would be greatly appreciated. Canary by Cloud9 and 3/4. Chapter 8. Where it all began. Hey, Mum? Inko looked up in surprise. Izuku rarely spoke during meals. There had been a time where it was hard for her to get him to eat at all. Yes, Izuku? She replied tentatively. So I did what you said to do yesterday? He continued, not looking up from his food. What was that, honey? To practice my quirk at school? He was jabbing at the rice with his chopsticks now, clearly nervous about talking to her about this. Oh, she exclaimed. You talked to a teacher? I didn't want to talk to anyone. It just sort of happened. Right, Inko pushed encouragingly, a smile spreading across her face. It was my homeroom teacher, President Mike. Oh, the man on the radio? Inko remembered. Oh, yes, I remember you telling me. He knows JSL, doesn't he? Yeah. He was stirring it absent-mindedly now. He said my quirk was really cool. See, the teachers at UA aren't like at the ones at your old school. Inko said triumphantly. Are you going to eat any more, Izuku? He shook his head and pushed the bowl towards her as she began to tidy away the various cups and bowls strewn across the table. And Mum, well, he said that if I did well in the sports festival with it, I could make it into the hero course. Inko's hands froze over the tap, turning back to her son. She saw the shaky smile on his face, and before long, her expression matched. Really? Really, Izuku? Oh, that's wonderful. And singing? Are you sure the quirk was about singing? He nodded surely. I figured out how to grow wings and everything. Wings? Yeah, but if I want to get into the hero course, I need to sing in the sports festival in front of all those people. Inko stirred the water in washing up the bowl thoughtfully. Well, you could always take singing lessons. No, Mum, President Mike had a different idea. Huh? Well, he said that all I need was a little practice and confidence. Yes, but wouldn't that be exactly what singing lessons supply? Inko frowned. She wasn't looking at her son now, as she scrubbed the bowls digitally. Izuku got up from his chair and hurried over to her side, drying whatever item she had finished with. Maybe, but not like this, he explained vaguely. Well, are you going to keep me in the dark or tell me what he suggested? She laughed, handing the chopsticks to Izuku. He might have suggested that I go on his radio show with him. Inko froze. On his radio show? Today at about 6:30. I was going to tell you about it last night, but then you got that email that school would be closed that day because of the villain attack, and well, I kind of forgot. He didn't look her in the eye, furiously wiping off the remaining studs. Did you say yes? He tensed up. Izuku, you have to say yes, she insisted, grasping his shoulders with soapy hands. This is an incredible opportunity. Even if you don't make it into the hero course, you could end up finding a little job at the radio station. It's linked to his hero agency, you know. Oh, Izuku, please don't tell me you said no. I said yes. Inko teared up, pulling him into a hug. I'm really proud of you. Thanks, Mom, he sobbed. But I don't know if I can do it. She pulled away, reaching up to Copper-san's face with his hand fondly. It's a radio show. You're not going to talk to anyone but President Mike face to face. Hardly anyone has the privilege of hearing your voice before, so they won't know it's you unless you say your name. I'm not saying my name. I'm going to use a code name like the heroes do. What is it? Canary. Like a songbird, she continued with his white smile. When you walk into that radio show, you aren't Izuku anymore, okay? You're Canary. And Canary can be whoever you want him to be. You can be brave, kind, and confident. Everything you are and more. Everything you know you are, you can be. He faltered for a moment before nodding with a bright smile. I'll be listening for sure. So if you ever feel nervous, just think about me listening in, and no one else can hear you. Midoriya would be lying if he said he didn't already know where President Mike's hero agency was. He knew a lot about the hero agencies around Musutafu, and because of how much he enjoyed the radio show, President Mike's wasn't an exception. The news was rife, with talk on the USJ attack that had occurred the day before. It was all anyone was thinking about. Midoriya, however, was a different story. As he stepped off the train and hurried along the streets, his eyes filtered past the billboards, covered in information about the arrested villains and Class 1A. As he scanned the buildings for the telltale sign of the hero agency. As he scanned the buildings for a telltale sign of the hero agency he was looking for, it didn't take long for him to find it. Before he knew it, Midoriya was standing on the doorstep, quite literally shaking in his boots. He must have been there for a while, because the tinted glass door suddenly opened to reveal a blue-skinned lady wearing a pair of headphones over messy indigo hair. She narrowed her eyes at him immediately before asking, "It's Midoriya Izuku, right?" Midoriya nodded frantically. The blue lady broke out in a wide smile, flashing a set of rather sharp teeth, pearly white teeth. "Well, hey there, Canary. Don't be shy. Come on in." She held the door open for him, and Midoriya stepped hesitantly inside. President Mike said you'd be a bit of a nervous wreck. Not in those words exactly, of course, but that's what you look like. A bit of a nervous wreck. Reminds me of my first day here. Terrifying, she laughed. I'm Azora, by the way. Not a pro hero, nor sidekick, but I do my bit. Midoriya's eyes darted around the new surroundings as Azora led him straight to the elevator. There wasn't much to see first off. Just a brightly colored reception area where several employees chatted happily amongst themselves. They saw Azora and gave her a wave. Their gaze drifted over to Midoriya. One gave him a finger guns and proceeded to type something on his computer. Azora pushed him into the elevator before he could even wave back. "So," Azora began, tilting her head towards Midoriya and giving him that frightening grin once more. "President Mike said you had a singing quirk. That's majorly cool." She pressed the floor number as the doors of the elevator closed. "We've got quite a few voice quirk heroes around here, and that's like listening heroes and stuff. I don't know, I really don't pay attention," she laughed. "You see, I help manage the radio aspect of this place now. We cross over with the heroes side quite a lot, but that doesn't mean I know everyone's quirk inside and out." Midoriya gulped nervously as the lift began to rise up through the building. He caught his reflection in the mirrored wall of the elevator. Azura was right. He did look like a nervous wreck. You listen to our radio, kid? Midoriya nodded anxiously. Good answer, 'cause if you do, well, you might be here for a while. Not like stuck in the building or anything, but you'll probably be hanging around, you know? Quite a few of us here started out like you, with no idea what we were doing and just going with the flow. But hey, the flow worked out, am I right? With a soft ding, the elevator doors opened again. Azura waltzed out confidently, with Midoriya scurrying alongside her. Here, look! Midoriya ground to a halt beside Azura. She was pointing through a window with a room filled with rows of computers, most of which had workers sitting behind them or talking to someone through their headsets. So if you do listen to the radio, then you'll know about our emergency number, right? Azura questioned. Midoriya gave her another nod. We're like a hero version of 911. Not that you wouldn't be able to get a hero if you called the emergency services, but our version is purely for our agency. We deal with a lot of domestic violence stuff. Kids with mental health problems, crimes, or dangerous situations that are a little more out of the public eye. It's not so flashy, but still super important. It's also kind of perfect for the types of quirks our heroes have. Maybe not much President Mike. He's a little loud, but like other people who can defuse situations or sneak into places unseen. Midoriya gazed curiously into the room. He remembered hearing President Mike exactly announce the telephone number over the air sometimes, saying if you ever need a hero, just to call up and they'd be there. I worked there for a while, and trust me when I say you feel like a real hero, not the kind of guy who wears a fancy costume and who got an amazing power like yours, but someone who can really make a difference. You get what I mean? But it's through work. Really distressing when things don't turn out okay. You've gotta feel for those guys, she said, nodding towards her colleagues. But they do a good job. Azura didn't let Midoriya stand there for much longer. She grabbed her wrist and pulled him back down the corridor. As she continued to speak, filling the gaps so Midoriya didn't have to. Well, if we've got the mainstream heroes too, like President Mike, who goes on patrols and protects the neighborhood from the kind of villains you see in the media. Then we've got the heroes who stay in the background and who go to the places they are called by the, well, we call it the white noise team. Those guys back there head the operation, and the more underground type heroes deal with the situation. Get it? Midoriya nodded. He was doing a lot of that, but Azura wasn't giving him much time to breathe. Before long, they were back in the elevator, heading up higher into the building. Sorry, I just thought you want to see that. I love a good tour. We don't get enough of them. Oh, we're almost out of time. Whoops. We'll go straight to the studio then. As soon as the doors opened once more, Azura steered Midoriya into a rather large room that seemed to be designed to be as comfortable as possible. The floor was carpeted, the sofas were dotted about everywhere. There was a TV hanging on the wall, although it was permanently muted. There were various computers dotted around the place, besides far too many scary-looking monitors with blinking lights. At the far end, there was a long window, obscured by a set of beige blinds. A man sat in a chair. In front of them, his headphones on, fiddling with various buttons and switches on a complicated-looking panel before him. "Hey, Nakano," Azura called out. The man did a double take before taking off his headphones and turning around in his chair. "Ah, is that Canary?" Midoriya waved feebly. Nakano laughed. "Yama said you'd be a little nervous." "I know it's easier said than done, but try not to worry about it all. President Mike will be out in a moment. He'll put on a song and then we'll be on our way." With that, he turned back around and put his headphones on once more. "Come sit down with me," Azura insisted, dragging Midoriya over to a random sofa. She sighed as she took the weights off her feet. "God, today's been long. You heard about the villain attack at UA? Oh, of course you have. You go there. Anyway, I was going to take you around the news floor, but it's been for the best that we didn't. Come to think of it, everyone is in absolute frenzy over it. But you see, President Mike won't give us any intel on it, for obvious reasons. Not that we're pushing him or anything, there's no need, really. But anyway, we've got what we needed from other sources. But there's still plenty of it." Midoriya zoned out pretty quickly. It wasn't as though he wasn't interested, but his mind was elsewhere. First of all, oh my god, President Mike had been talking about him on to his radio friends, which was a terrifying thought. Then he'd rather and more urgently, he was about to go on the radio for the very first time. "Yeah, there he is!" Midoriya nearly jumped out of his skin as President Mike Familiar's voice cut through the air. He stood up and turned around, but he was out of his hero costume. And this, for some reason, was not what Midoriya had expected him to look like. He wore rather ordinary wire-rimmed glasses, unlike the bright yellow shades he usually sported. His hair was long, really long. That much was obvious from the way it spiked up in his hero costume, but without all the hair gel. It would have hung loosely around his shoulders if he hadn't tied it up in a bun. The only part of his hero costume he still wore was his leather jacket, which was no longer done up, showing a simple white shirt underneath. Midoriya didn't know why the look surprised him so much. Did he seriously expect he looked like President Mike all the time? "Ha!" yelled Azura. "I told you he'd be shocked when you weren't in your hero costume." Midoriya blushed furiously and stared at his shoes in a panic. "Don't frighten him more than necessary," Azura insisted Nanako, in a monotone voice as he glanced at the various flashing lights of the monitors built into the wall. President Mike grasped Midoriya by his shoulders in a similar fashion to Azura, stirred him into the studio behind the door beside Nanako. "Welcome to the studio," he announced, closing the door behind him. The studio looked very much like an extension to the room Midoriya had just left, which he assumed was some kind of waiting room. There was a table in the middle, with 4 chairs organized around it. President Mike sat down in his, tapping the microphone that hung by his head and picking up the wireless headset. "Pick a chair, any chair," he explained, indicating to the 2 remaining spaces. Midoriya took the diagonal to him, the closest to the door, which was a coincidence and not a position he chose so he could escape at any moment's notice. That was an only added bonus. Rather than the seat beside him, which was covered in various piles of paperwork and scripts, or the opposite of him, which was kind of behind his computer monitor. Midoriya had his own monitor. Not that he understood anything on it. He decided it was best to be left alone, evident by the fact that he only that the only main control panel, sharing some similarities to Nanako's, was out of his reach. "How are you feeling, little listener?" asked the hero, in a much calmer voice than usual. A little nervous," Midoriya admitted, repeating what both Nanako and Azora had said. He was actually rather surprised the words came out at all. "That's okay," President Mike replied. "And expected. Everyone's nervous on their first time on the radio. I've had a lot of visitors even before. Even pro heroes freak out from time to time." They do? "Yeah, some heroes are more used to being filmed from afar. They feel a little trapped in the studio. Can you believe it?" Yes, he very much could. "Anyway, I've got a song at the moment. I made sure it was quite a long one. Don't worry. Look at your computer screen. But see the word live in the top right-hand corner?" Midoriya nodded, briefly distracted by the various notifications popping up all over the place. "Okay, I've got the master controls over here. In a minute or so, the word live is going to glow bright red. That's how you know that your mic is on." He was just continuously nodding now, bobbing his head up and down as his brain went into overdrive. "If you put on your headphones, not yet, you'll hear the music playing over the radio," President Mike continued. "We're going to be here for about an hour, but don't worry. We've got some really long songs queued up for you this time around," he laughed. When we go on the air, I'm going to introduce you, and we'll just talk about stuff, like having a normal conversation. That's all. Except thousands of people are also listening at the same time. No biggie, thought Midoriya, as he fiddled with his headphones in the stress of all of it. What are you happy with me saying, kid?" questioned the hero. What do you mean?" Midoriya stammered. "Like, I can briefly describe your quirk, say that you go to UA." He nodded hesitantly. Sure you know best?" President Mike gave him a rather pitiful smile. His eyes flicked towards his monitor for a moment, probably checking how much longer he had left, before turning back to Midoriya. "What are you thinking of right now? Cast your thoughts off the radio aside. What else is buzzing around in that big brain of yours?" He stuttered, unsure of what his teacher was going with this. Well, Midoriya glanced at the closed blinds. He knew Azora and Nakano were behind them. "What's Azora's quirk?" President Mike's grin grew wider. "You know, she never told me." She hasn't?" "Nope. I guess I could look it up. But where's the fun in that, huh? What do you think her quirk is?" "Well, she's got blue skin and the sharp teeth. There's some other elements, a little more hidden or sometimes mutational effects are as a result of underlying features." He carried on like this for a while, sprouting out numerous possibilities for Azora's quirk, as President Mike listened in astonishment. He couldn't go on forever, though. Well, actually, that was up for debate, mainly because the song President Mike was playing on the radio soon came to an end. "Headphones on, little listener," he suddenly interrupted. Blinking, Midoriya was pulled from his thoughts. He hesitated, staring at the headphones, before he gingerly pulling them over his head. They were rather comfortable. His own ones tended to hurt after a while, but these one he could hear himself blocking the entire world out for the rest of the year, if they weren't connected to the radio, that was. You could hear the song ending, the headphones supplying clear audio quality. He let himself focus on that rather than the whole radio thing for a moment. That was when the little live button glowed red, and the hour he'd look back on many, many times in the year to come began. Put Your Hands Up Radio, Thursday, 18:30, President Mike's radio show. Prison mic. And the song is over. Wow, you know that was way longer than I thought it was. It was one of those long sounds where you're halfway through, you think it's ending, but then surprise, it's not anyway. Anyways, it's Thursday, and you know what that means? I have nothing planned. Thursdays are just one of those days. You catch my drift? You're tired from the week behind you, and it's like it's still not over. Like the song I just played. You see what I did there? But this week specifically, it has been awfully tiring. Isn't that right, co-host? Can I get a yeah? Co-host. Yay? Momentarily silence, followed by a sputter of laughter. Prison mic. That's going to be the most feeble yeah I've ever heard. Co-host. Sorry. Prison mic. As most of you know, I am an English teacher at the well-known hero school of UA. And boy, has this week been long. My little co-host over here is one of my many students. He may not be on the hero course, but that doesn't mean his week is going to be easy. Co-host. There was a lot of press outside of the gate. Prison mic. Indeed, there was. Then we thought we got rid of them, but that horrible incident involving Hero Class 1A was catalyst for a whole different kind of trouble. So after schools yesterday, I go around the place checking that everyone's gone home. And who do I stumble across? Why, it's my co-host over here, and he's singing. He's got an incredible voice. He's blushing now. Don't give me that look. I feel bad. Okay, so we talked, and he was mean to me, and I discovered. Let me finish. I discovered that he has this amazing quirk. All I'll say is that it's to do with his singing, and it's awesome. All right, I'm done. You don't need to raise your hand. This isn't a classroom. Co-host. I wasn't mean to. I didn't mean to be mean. Pressure mic. That was many means right there. Anyhow, what you said was brilliant. Long story short, I am cockatoo now. Co-host. What does that mean? Pressure mic. I can feel my co-producer cackling as we speak. Co-host. Pressure mic. It's the hair. I don't know how I've never noticed before. But this little songbird right here is awfully observant. It can be a little scary at times. Anyways, I've just realized all our listeners are going to be very confused because they still don't really know who you are. So since I'm cockatoo, this is Canary. Say hi. Canary. Hi. You, present mic. You are very quiet. Canary. Well, maybe you're just very loud. Present mic. I don't think that it was a maybe. Canary. So I balance you out? Present mic. Yeah, that's a good point. Canaries are usually quite noisy though. Canary. Cockatoos are louder. Present mic. Are they? Trust you to know that. Have you conducted a study on what birds is the loudest? Canary. No. Present mic. You know though, don't you? Canary. Maybe. Present mic. Then enlighten us. Canary. It's the kakapo. It's a type of parrot. Present mic. But why? Why waste space in that big brain of yours for information on what birds are the loudest? Canary. Because I wanted to know. The kakapo can reach around 130 decibels in its mating call. And then I think a type of bellbird reaches 100. But the sound of a jet engine can be 140 decibels. Press mic. You learn something new every day. But why research birds? Canary. Honestly? Press mic. It's because you wondered how loud I could be before I burst someone's eardrums, wasn't it? Canary. Possibly. Press mic. How did I guess? Speaking of studying, when I bumped into Canary yesterday, he explained that he was trying to practice his quirk so he could make good impressions at his this year's sports festival. All eyes are going to be directly towards the hero course, as per usual, but what most viewers fail to consider are the more background students in equally important courses, including the business support and general studies department. As the year commentator, it's always been super exciting when a new underdog arises through the ranks. If they show promise in heroics, my colleagues at UA can consider an offering them at the place in the hero course, and that's where Canary is aiming. How do you feel? How are you feeling about it, Canary? I probably won't do that. Well, I haven't had the practice or opportunities the others have had, but I can try my best. Mike. That's the spirit. I have invited Canary here today because with a quirk like his, he needs confidence if he wants to succeed. It's no easy feat standing in front of all of those peoples and singing. But we all know a little encouragement can go a long way. That's why Canary joined us here to Put Your Hands Up radio. And if you haven't scared him off, maybe I can get him back. What do you say? A brief moment of silence follows. Press mic. He shrugged, everybody. That's not a no. Why don't a lot of you help him out? Send some interesting questions and your thoughts in the meantime. Have a little listen to this. Let the worries and stress of the day float away, and we will be back soon when the song is up. The live button turned off in milliseconds later. Midoriya let out a sigh of relief that he didn't even realize he was holding in as he took off his headphones. President Mike didn't say anything initially. Midoriya had been bracing himself for an ear-piercing yell, but instead he gave him a wide grin and an enthusiastic thumbs up. See? He began. That wasn't so bad. Was it? Midoriya cringed. I thought it was horrible. Not at all, President Mike protested. First of all, you spoke. Midoriya blinked at him. It took a moment for the realization to wash over him. He was right. He just talked on the radio. The conversation had felt so natural that the dam between his mind and mouth had become obsolete. Sure, he stuttered and stammered, but he still spoke. Yeah. Yeah, his teacher grinned, reading as the stunned expression on Midoriya's face. What did I say? Confident! I guess so. Person Mike pushed back off his desk, letting the wheelie chair carry him to the window. He tugged on the blinds to pull them up. Midoriya's gaze was immediately caught by Azura and Nanako, who both had brilliant smiles on their faces. Nanako pressed one of the many buttons in front of him, speaking into a little microphone fixed in front of him. You did fine there, kid, he insisted. Really, I was worried that you wouldn't speak at all for a moment there, but you did good. Azura leaned over, pushing Nanako out of the way to reach the microphone. Yeah, Kanai, you were really sweet. Everyone's going to love you. Trust me on this one. You have a fan base in no time. I will head it, guaranteed. What was that bird called? A what is it? President Mike strained to remember. A kakapo, Midoriya replied nervously. How on earth did you remember that? I don't know. I just know a lot of random facts, he admitted with a shrug. But why? He cut himself off. Actually, no. We'll have this conversation on air. Wait a second. Let me see if we have any responses online yet. President Mike pulled the blinds back down. Azura kept waving, making her seat sink down as she was obstructed from view. It made Midoriya's smile stretch a little further across his face. It wasn't long before the same song came to an end, and they were back on air. But there was a new life to Canary's voice, as the hour crept by. He remembered his mother's words from earlier that day. When you walk into that radio studio, you aren't Azuko anymore, okay? You're Canary. And Canary can be whoever you want him to be. You can be brave and kind and confident. Everything you are and more. Everything you know you can be. Yeah, you could get used to this. That was the end of Canary, chapter 8. I'm sorry I haven't posted in a month. It's been a hectic week with studies. I know it's not an excuse because I don't have studies for a month. It's just been hectic. I think I have figured out a what's it called? Damn, what is it called? No, it's not a ritual. Why is it even? No, I think I've planned when I'm going to record and edit. So that'll be interesting. Anyways, it's almost summer for me. I almost have summer vacation, so that'll be probably posting more, except in the first week or when I have camp. So, anyways, I'm sorry for leaving you behind on Canary. So I hope you have a good day or night, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.